Hi, and welcome to Michigan Matters. Today, we're going to focus on our auto heritage and love affair with cars as we look to the upcoming Drive Home Rally, which will run along the infamous Route 66 and eventually end up at the Detroit Auto Show. We have three folks involved here to talk about it. Then it's one of the top tourist destinations in the country as the Henry Ford, which includes the museum, Greenfield Village, and the Rouge Factory Tour, is in the spotlight as we talk to Ellen Hill-Zarang about what's coming up. There's lots of cool things to talk about. Let's get started.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Cain. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by PNC Bank.
And we're so pleased to welcome three guys who live and breathe autos as few others. David Madeira, who's the Vice Chair of America's Automotive Trust, or AAT. Rod Albers, longtime friend of the show, who is an AAT board member and former Executive Director of DADA. And Steve Saleen, former race car driver, who's still driving and winning. We'll get to that. And also he has Saleen INC. It is great to have you guys here with us. And my goodness, we have much to talk about here. Rod, let me start with you. The AAT, the Detroit Auto Show, and the National Route 66 Centennial Commission is getting together and having the Drive Home 7 Route 66, a century of automotive rally coming to Detroit. Tell us quickly about it.
Well, I think the best part from my end is to tell you how this all began 7 years ago. And we've ended at this point now where we got Route 66, which is going to be that drive home and bringing all these cars that were built here in Detroit back home again. So going back to when Dave and I came up with the idea, it was fun sitting down and having a cocktail coming up and creating new ideas and ways to really celebrate the industry and the history of vehicles and the future and where it's headed. So the one we're doing now I think is really special with the centennial coming up of Route 66 and all that can be had with that. What Dave has put together with the AAT and with Steve Saleen involved, it's going to be an amazing event driving cross-country from California all the way to Chicago and to Detroit.
So, so David, when does the rally actually start? And I know it begins as Route 66 for people who may not know, and California goes across the country back in when the highways weren't there, and they take this Route 66 across the country. So where does it begin and when?
It's really cool because it's going to begin at Mel's Diner, which you may recall was made famous in Happy Days, yeah. Right? And that's actually the literal spot where the original route began or ended. So we have them committed. We're going to do a celebration there, and we'll start this drive January 3rd. So we kick off the celebration of the commission for the year.
Well, and it's going to go along this route and go through and it ends up in Chicago, but then the vehicles will come to Detroit. So Steve, you are a legend in the auto industry, race car driver, build these incredible performance cars. Will you be participating in this rally? I know you're on the AAT board, by the way.
Yes, of course. It starts in Southern California. It was our hometown. So we'll be there with our Mustangs and trucks and maybe a supercar or two to at least kick it off.
Yeah, and there's how many cars are involved with this?
Well, we'll have 9 official cars, but we have on the website, we have an invitation page. So as all this news gets out, we're inviting people to join along the way. When we did the Mustang Stampede with Ford, remember there were 1,000 Mustangs in Dearborn? I think this thing is going to bring enthusiasts out all across the country. And Carol, they point them to Detroit. And the trust has always been about that relationship.
Well, and I remember in 2015 when you started it, I joined you, gentlemen, for the last leg where you went from, I can't remember the dealership in
Lincoln of Troy.
There we go, in Troy, down Woodward to the auto show in these incredible, there was a Chrysler 300C, a 65 Ford Country Squire station wagon, a 69 Camaro, other vehicles, amazing, and people were joining in along the way too, right?
Right. Yeah, you know, we can both jump in on this one, but think about this in January too with these old cars that they were, built in a time when they had to go through rough weather and all that too. So Detroit in January, it really worked out great. And having you in the car and doing the interview going downtown, down Woodward
You
too.
were doing the driving. We were doing the filming, and it's like I was amazed because you were driving. I can't remember which vehicle, but it was hard to drive. It's not like it was one of those that you had to do that kind of thing.
I think it was a Chrysler 300.
I think you were in the Chrysler.
Okay.
And it was a little rough going down. But think about that. On Woodward Avenue, taking that whole route from Birmingham all the way downtown. I mean, that was the cruise.
Yeah. And I know, Steve, you're based out in California, but you have lots of ties here to Detroit with your company and things you've done with Ford and others, right? Are you still heavily involved here?
Yeah, we're still, Detroit is the second home, I would say, on this. And if you're in the auto industry, all roads lead to Detroit, as we really know, which makes it very appropriate to end here.
Well, and you also have created incredible vehicles for movies like Fast and Furious, and you've had stars like Jim Carrey and Harrison Ford and a variety of others driving your vehicles, these vehicles in these movies, right?
Yeah, we've been fortunate. Whether it's a Saleen Mustang or Saleen Focus, our sport truck, or our supercar with the S7 and the movie Bruce Almighty, where
yes.
we have a scene around our facility, and that is when the movie where Jim Carrey takes the place of the Almighty. We have a scene is that the Pope may drive a Ferrari, but God drives the S7.
We're going to put a bow tie on it for the moment, take a quick break, and continue the conversation after this quick timeout. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with Dave Madeira, Ron Alberts, and Steve Saleen, and talking about what else but autos right now. And Steve, when you have your vehicles have been featured in over 100 movies and TV shows, right?
Correct.
So when a vehicle is going to appear in like a Fast and Furious, do the producers come to you saying, we're going to do this movie, we'd like you to do this vehicle, or do they see these incredible vehicles you have on the race circuit and on street and saying, we want one of those?
Well, it actually is. It depends on the movie on this. Most of the time, no, I think the director or the producer has designated they want this type of car, and then they will call us about doing this. I will say, though, in the Bruce Almighty one, we actually had to do an audition with the car. And that audition was kind of interesting. Is the studio had arranged to have, at the time, every supercar lined up in a row. And when we pulled up, they asked us to pull our car up, but pull it around the bungalow there at Universal Studios. And Jim Carrey, Tom, the director, and Jim Brubaker, the producer, came out, and they started looking at it, and they went down the line for Ferraris, Vipers, Corvettes, Porsches, everything else, and they were sitting there going, what would be a car that God would drive? And then the one guy said, well, we have one more car around the corner, and they walked around the corner, and at the time we had the remote to where the doors would just open.
Oh, that's great.
And that was
called Sign, Seal,
Love at first sight.
Oh my goodness. And I know, and congratulations to you, I know you just won a race. You literally were put at the back of the field with 40 racers recently, and you still won the race.
Yes, I was, fortunately I was driving our new supercar, the Saleen S7, and they made me start at the back, but I was able to work my way through and ended up winning the race.
That's it. Well, congratulations to you, too. So, Rod, you have been involved with autos. I know it's part of your DNA here. And this town is so tied to autos, but it's the love affair with vehicles, too. And who is the market for things like this rally with the Barrett-Jackson, with the Detroit Auto Show? Who is the market for that, do you think?
Well, I think in general, if I get your question correct, this is such a car enthusiast city, and whether it's here or around the country, the love affair never goes away. And I think it's evolving a bit, though. I mean, it's kind of like me changing with my job. You know, I was good for 30 years. I had my love affair in what I did. And now we have Sam Clement leading a new direction, and it's going to be a different story and a different draw of people. But I think the breadth is still growing and expanding in regard to people that find cars intriguing and a different way of looking at it, the technology and otherwise.
And David, I know the rally is going to be going on in January. You have a website where people can check in to see what the latest is, or if they want to participate, or if they have ideas too, right?
Right, absolutely. It's aat.org, and they scroll down, they'll see the Drive Home page, and they're taken to all those things you just mentioned. Yeah.
So can you join at a specific point in time? In other words, I don't know how many people would actually start in California, make it to Chicago, and then to the Detroit auto show.
Well, in the last one, a family saw us go by in Kansas City, and they created a bus stand on their van, and they piled 7 kids in Kansas, and they rode with us the whole way in. So you never know. It's rare that somebody will go the whole way, but they'll come out
into that,
and they may go 50 miles, 100 miles, but some have gone a lot.
Real curious here. Quick thoughts. Electric vehicles, a lot of conversation with consumers, what the latest is. Your quick take on that when it comes to even the vehicles that you're making. And I know your vehicles are sold in some Ford dealerships in Romeo and other places here, right?
Yes, yeah. Suburban Ford of Romeo and Suburban Ford of Ferndale are our Saleen representatives for the greater Detroit area. But as far as, we've always tended to look at the future.
Yeah.
And we have actually a version of the Tesla called the Saleen Tesla that we offered, and that was actually in 2014. So we're looking at the automotive landscape is really evolving, and we'll get into the development, and it's not inconceivable we'll be talking someday about flying cars.
Boy.
But Detroit, I think, is really the heart, and will continue to be. And it's gone through, if we were much older, we would be talking in, the 1900s of the Model A and the Model T and all of that. But it always has maintained to stay at the forefront of, I think, the automobile transportation.
And Rod, you get the last word here. You have made a career of trying to stay ahead of these trends, particularly in the automotive and what's going on here. How do you see EVs impacting what we're doing?
Well, first I would say that it's interesting how things go full circle. There was a car called the Waverly Electric back in the early 1900s, and now we came back to electric cars. But I think everybody got a little overeager about having it mainstream. It's not ready yet. There's too much infrastructure, too many things that are obvious now. They weren't clear 5 years ago.
Right.
But I think the learning curve has come a long way for the manufacturers, all of them. So we're finding a place for it, but the future is looking electric, but it has its time.
It's going to take the road's a little bit more bumpy than what people thought, I think, 10 years ago when we first started really talking about this. But anyways, so I'm looking forward to seeing all of you down at the rally coming up here and winding into at the Detroit Auto Show here, and look forward to see any new movies or whatever. Anything you want to mention of new movie that you're involved with vehicles?
I'm under secrecy, so I have to be quiet until it comes out.
I'm going to guess it has something to do with I'm going to guess Tom Cruise. Anyways, that strikes me as his kind of car.
He owns actually several Saleen Mustangs. So
what's the one you were talking about? The
S7, Saleen 7.
Yeah, the S7.
Of course, and the price tag on that is what, 1.8 mil?
Yes, 1.8. So, but it's 1,500 horsepower. It'll go over 300 mile an hour, and if you get the right road, it'll drive upside down.
There we go. Oh, my gosh. All right. On that, I know we could sit here all day and talk about this, but we're going to wind it down. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And keep it right here. We're back with more Michigan Matters after this timeout. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're now joined by Ellen Hilza-Rang, who's the Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer of the Henry Ford, which includes the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation, Greenfield Village, and the Rouge Factory Tour. How have you been, my friend? It's been a while.
Great. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Well, this seems like whenever I think of July 4th holiday and all these things, I think of the Henry Ford here. And I'm curious, with so many things taking place in the world, global things and tariffs and other stuff we won't talk about there, but how is it impacting? You normally have about 2 million people. How is it looking in terms of visitors so far this season?
Well, Carol, I will say that we are committed to doing good public history. We're also committed to providing great quality entertainment for family and Metro Detroiters and national and international tourists. So we're doing well, and we're excited. We've got some great things coming up this summer, and we're really excited to have people coming into the museum, the factory tour, and into the village.
Well, and let's talk about that. You have your annual Salute to American event, which takes place with the DSO. It's an incredible event. If you haven't been, you need to go. It is incredibly, makes you feel patriotic, love of America type thing here. But it takes place at July
2nd through the 5th at Greenfield Village.
And I know you do things, it's not just a concert, but a bunch of other things, right?
Absolutely. So gates open at 5 o'clock, and that gives guests the opportunity to stroll throughout the village and nestled across our 80 acres of wonderful historic venues. We've got music nestled in. So it's really a wonderful opportunity to come in, casually stroll stroll, enjoy some music, enjoy some great food, and then when the sun goes down, the music goes up. And that's when the Detroit Symphony Orchestra performs. And this year is going to be conducted by Nazir McFadden, who is the associate composer for the DSO, and we're expecting great music of all genres.
Yeah, where else can you get that but at the Henry Ford here with that? It's amazing here. The other thing that the museum in Greenfield Village, it's so tied in with innovation and that wrapping in history and paying homage to that. You have an exhibit calling Our War II, Women in Service Exhibition, which is paying tribute to the 350,000 women service members who served during World War II, which we hear a lot about the Rosie the Riveters who went into the plants to help out, but this is a different thing, right?
This is different. This is about those women who answered the call to serve. Despite all kinds of challenges, they still went on to serve our country. And I will tell you, Carol, this exhibition is breathtaking. There are bright, huge photos and images of the women. There's wonderful artifacts of uniforms, of makeup cases, of scrapbooks, everything that tells the narrative. And this is very, very important, particularly in this time when we really want to celebrate the legacy of women. And so I encourage everyone to come to this exhibition, but I certainly think it's something special for young women because you are just inspired. I was personally inspired by the courage of these women.
Yeah. Well, and something else I have been anxiously awaiting since you and I first talked about this, I don't know how long ago, it's been 2 or 3 years ago here, the Jackson home, which, oh my gosh, it's documenting one of the most momentous movements in American history, the Selma to Montgomery marches, Dr. Martin Luther King, the 1965 voting rights. Tell us a little bit about the history of this home, which people may not have heard as much about that.
We acquired this artifact from Selma a couple years ago, about 2 years ago, and we've been working to restore it. But it is really an amazing story of several things. In this home is where Dr. King, as you mentioned, and several of his colleagues planned the Selma to Montgomery marches in 1965. Also in this home, Dr. King watched President Lyndon Johnson give the famous We Shall Overcome speech, which signaled the signing of the Voting Rights Act. But in addition to that, it tells the story of an African-American family that used hospitality as their weapon against discrimination. They opened their home, and they served meals, and they just gave gentle hospitality. And this is a home that was in one family for over 100 years. It is the home of an African-American physician and his wife and daughter. And you'll also hear stories of what it was like to be a young black woman during the Civil Rights Movement. So there are so many stories to tell, and with so many Detroiters who have migrated from the South here, this story is really going to resonate, and we are extraordinarily proud to use this as a platform to celebrate Black history.
And also Dr. Sullivan Jackson and Mrs. Ritchie Jean Sherrod, who were the ones that owned the home. And they were just an everyday family that opened their home to Dr. Martin Luther King and obviously his allies in all of this, and made a difference.
Absolutely. Just ordinary people who did extraordinary things that truly had an impact on history. And with the addition of the Jackson home in Greenfield Village, we now have the opportunity to tell 200 years of African-American Black heritage stories. So we are thrilled and very excited to bring this particular artifact to this community, and it's going to open next summer, June of 2026.
Oh my gosh.
America 250 celebration.
Well, speaking of, let's stay with history for a moment here. In the museum is the Rosa Parks bus, where she refused to give up her seat to a white man. And I think that's got to be one of your most popular exhibits inside the museum, right?
There's so many popular things in the museum. The Rosa Parks bus is certainly probably the number one, but we also have the presidential limousines. We have the chair where President Lincoln was assassinated. And the museum is filled with those really rich stories of American innovation. And we hope that when guests come, they are inspired to create their own dreams.
Well, I remember I was taping a women's special for CBS, and you folks had kindly opened the door, let me come tape portion of my open there. I was inside the Rosa Parks bus. Strange thing happened. The power went out in the whole place. The crowd had to empty because it was dark, whatever here. We decided to film anyways and use the light inside, and it was the most eerie and unusual things, and because we were doing a special that included, Rosa Parks in here. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So many stories to tell, but we need to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. right, welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're joined by Ellen Hill-Zarang talking about a cultural jewel in our community, that being the Henry Ford in Dearborn, which includes the Greenfield Village, Henry Ford Museum, and the Ford Factory Tour. You also have a cool exhibition going on about bikes, which the history of bikes in our country, which I don't think a lot of folks know.
In our collections gallery, and I'm excited to share about our collections gallery because that is a gallery that is dedicated and allows the Henry Ford to showcase our collection. So this particular exhibition is called Bicycles, Powering Possibilities, and it tells the stories of 200 years of bikes. And you think 200 years of bikes, it's really phenomenal. There's bikes of all sizes, shapes, and from all eras. There's interactives. It's really quite exciting, and that's nestled right inside of the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation.
Well, the other thing you have, which I have great familiarity with, is the Ford Rouge Tour, the factory tour, which people can go, and that's an amazing thing. You go into an assembly plant, right, at the Rouge plant. What else does it include today?
And you can actually see a car, F-150 being assembled, and you also get a little bit of the history of what it means to be a car company, Ford being a car company, what it means to America, to the culture, to our economy. It's just really a spectacular and brilliant opportunity for people to see what makes the Motor City, cars, and the people who make the cars.
Well, back in the day, when I was in high school, I was an intern and gave Rouge tours through the assembly plant and the steel rolling mill. Thousands and thousands of people showed up every single day to go through this, and I know this from firsthand. Cars resonate, particularly Detroit, from across the world. People came in from all over.
When people come to Detroit, they want to learn about our fantastic car culture. So one of the places they go is the Ford Rouge Factory Tour, and they make it over to at the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation to learn about the history of the cars.
Well, besides everyday folks coming in, you have a lot of celebrities. When they are coming in to take tours of something, or they want to see a certain exhibition. I think Pink was recently here, right?
Pink was recently here for our Halloween program last year. We just had Francis Ford Coppola, and several years ago we had Clint Eastwood. So all kinds of stars and celebrities come to visit the museum.
Well, I know even on your website, I took a look down there. You have pictures of people that are going way back, the Henry Fondas, and people from back in the day coming in to take pictures like inside the exhibition of a movie maybe that they starred in or whatever here.
We had Jane Fonda recently as well. She was here because she wanted to learn more about our edible education program. So we get the celebrities, but we also get just your normal Metro Detroiters who just want to come and have a great time at our institution.
How do you decide, because there's so much history, there's so much, and again, you've got a wealth of incredible, anywhere in the country, there's nothing quite like this, which is why it's one of the top draws in the country. How do you decide when to add a new exhibition?
Oh, that takes a lot of thought and a lot of planning. It's not easy to mount a new exhibition, so we've got an incredible team of curators, and we work collaboratively to decide what should we add to the collection. It is a very thoughtful process. It takes a lot of time, but we also think about what will resonate with our guests and what will inspire them about the story of American innovation.
Well, and other things too, like the Jackson home. How did that, just real quick, I know there's probably a long story with that, but just in a nutshell, how did that come about?
Joanna Jackson, who owns the home, called our president, Patricia Muradian, and Patricia and our vice president curator had a conversation with her and decided that this home needed to be in Greenfield Village so that we could preserve it, protect it, and use it as a way to educate and inspire Americans.
And it's a great way to spend the day with your family or your out-of-town guests or whatever. I know whenever people are coming in, they want to come take that tour. They want to come and see the Abraham Lincoln, the chair, and the Kennedy, which, where he was.
We have more than just the Kennedy limousine. We've got a fleet. We've got 3 or 4 of the presidential limousines. So there's so much to see and do across all of our wonderful venues. And I just want everyone to come and be inspired.
Well, and the other thing is, I know all of us are looking forward to the Salute to America with the DSO, which is amazing. Are there tickets still available? Before I start with this, are there tickets still available?
There are tickets still available. Guests can go to thf.org for more information. And again, I just want to remind everyone, it's July 2nd through the 5th, and it's going to be a spectacular evening culminated with a great fireworks show.
And I lit a candle. It's going to be good weather, too.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Take good care. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next Sunday for a little bit more Michigan Matters.